What are the different speech groups or communities that you are a part of?
I would say, I have my speech community with my close friends, speech community with new friends that I've met here at Charlotte, and I have speech community of my church. Obviously, the home speech community, the way I speak with my parents and family members.
And then I would say I'm part of the Southern speech community. That's where I've grown up all of my life. And then the business speech community, because interviewing for jobs and being a business major, that's a big part of my speech too.
I'm more of the technical communities altogether.
Do you notice when transitioning from one speech community to another that your speech has changed?
I can tell when I change from one speech community to another because I use very different terms when I'm working in class with the other computer science majors versus when I'm going back to my room and talking to my friends or roommate about what I did today.
I definitely think you can tell when I switch from being with close peers to obviously people who are in a leadership role or someone who's going to be evaluating how I'm speaking to them, if it's professional or if I'm speaking slang. Obviously I'm not going to try and speak slang to like a boss or anyone like that. So I definitely can tell when I'm talking to my friends and when I'm at work or different places that I change how I speak to other people.
A lot of my speech communities, they kind of combine together depending on what type of people I'm with. Other than like the business speech community and the athletic speech community, everything else, they kind of flow together, and I use different words from the different speeches.
And then, and what speech communities do you feel excluded from that you don't fit into?
I would probably have to say the computer science speech community. That hasn't really been a big part of my life.
People who are a lot of computer tech savvy, I wouldn't really understand what they're saying.
Being an athlete, I guess, my focus hasn't been on computer science as much as it could have been.
But, if they dumb it down for me, I can understand, but I'm just not the technical computer kind of person. But I think I fit in with most of the speech communities here on campus.
Okay.
I've always felt excluded from the athlete speech community because I've never been that type of person to go out and be a sports person or just that whole lifestyle of impressing others with my skills. I've always been the person that can impress a small group of people with my skills.
And what was your first speech community that you were a part of? How does that affect your way of speaking now?
One of my very first speech communities that I can recall is more of a technical type of speech community. When I was younger, my mother and my father were both very computer oriented, so I picked up on what they were saying a lot, and so I always kept with that throughout my life. I've always been the person that can use more technical terms but can't use more, say, sports terms.
My first speech community that I was a part of was obviously with my family. My mom being raised in Virginia, I grew up with the Southern, as people say, accent and Southern hospitality. So that was my first speech community, and that's the first one I really remember is, always being told, you sound really Southern, or your accent is really thick, which I never really heard it, but when people pointed out is when I guess I noticed that was my first speech community.
My first speech community, it would be my home speech community, the Southern speech community.
And how does that affect how you speak now?
I guess it shapes all of my other speech communities. It has a role in each community, each speech community that I come in contact with now. That's like kind of the main one that I always go back to, no matter what.
Awesome. Perfect, that works.
Okay.